In this lesson, we're going to transition off the entire console after the Word button is pressed. So we're currently up to this stage where the Google Drive icon has been pressed and we have 3 icons popping up. And so when the 4th click occurs here, we want the entire console to transition off in a very exciting way, in a very responsive way. So at this point in time, what we want to do is set the anchor point of this Google Drive auxiliary console to the very center of this Word icon here. And the reason we're setting this anchor point is because we're going to scale it. What we want to happen is when W is pressed, everything sort of expands. So if we hit scale, we can sort of see what we want to happen. We want it to sort of scale up. We sort of want it to explode, pretty much. Explode from the direction of the icon. So let's hit scale here, and then let's go 20 keyframes in time forward and set this to, let's try 200. So this console is sort of zooming out, but these ones are not. So what we want to do is parent those to this console. And we can do that by coming down here. We already have some parents, so let's grab spoke and spoke and spoke. Actually, the W does not follow, so we won't parent that, but we'll parent these two here to the auxiliary console. We can see those are zooming out. Currently, we don't have enough samples for motion blur, but we can increase those when we want to render. We have the console expanding, but we need to still transition off the Word icon here. What we should do is with this blank ring, I'm going to actually duplicate it and start a new one just so that we have clean transformations on it. So let's go here and maybe remove these keyframes, remove this parent, and reset the transformation. It's off screen, but just go up to transform reset. And I believe the scale needs to be 15 to be the exact same size. And let's just find out exactly where that ought to be. Okay, pretty much spot on. And what I want to do here is expand this. So again, 20 frames, and let's see how big we need to make it until it's off screen. So if we go to, actually, it doesn't have to go all the way off screen. Let's just make it this big, and then let's go out expo here. And with the W logo, what we can do is maybe scale that down. That parent is clean, so we can add a scale in here. I might just add the transformation effect because our scale is already being keyframed. So we type in transform. We can scale this down here. Set that 1 to 0. And let's make the spoke expand with the ring. So if we grab the spoke here and parent it to the blank ring, we can see that it's going to expand with it. Although unfortunately that's going to take the Word with us. So let's duplicate this, cut it out, and start afresh here. This one not being parented to the spoke. And the spoke will now go with the blank ring and expand. Now the Word itself, let's check what, it currently doesn't have any ease and whiz applied to it, so that needs to be expo out. And we have this little thing in the way, so I'm just going to end it here. It's just the backing for the Google Drive logo, and this is looking good. Now when this ring expands, that's not going to look terribly great in the main comp view. So what we want to do is sort of ease those out. So let's go back to the UI, and I think it's this ring here, blank ring. What we want to do is maybe make a copy. So if we just reveal the source, we'll call this blank ring erode. And what we want to do here is alt click and replace. Alt drag, sorry. So now we have this special pre-comp, and we can basically just erode this starting here. and for the last 20 frames will erode. So currently we do have expressions on here. We want to remove those, and what we want to do is with mask 2, we want to subtract it fully. So we keyframe the expansion, come forward 20 frames, and set that to a value of 0. And same with the innering to U. Get rid of these and set a keyframe here. Have that go down to 0. And we want to out expo these, making sure curvaceous is on. And at the very last frame, we can just end them because they will be non-existent. So we can see that it eventually fades out or erodes to nothing, which is very handy for us because we really don't want to be seeing anything. Now we can still see it, so what we might want to do is have that happen either a bit quicker or maybe even keyframe the opacity for the last few frames. So because it's expo out, it's going to happen very quickly to start with, and for the last bits we'll just keyframe that out to 0. Let's take a render and see how everything's looking. It's always good to have a review of where we currently are, and what I think is that it looks a little inconsistent having this sort of button press twice but not 3 times, so I'm going to add this sort of button press to when the Google Drive logo is pressed. And also I'm not really happy with this. I think it needs to erode a lot quicker. It just looks weird. It sort of dwells too long and looks ugly. So let's quickly fix that. So if we go back to the comps and find the erode, we can make this erode happen quite a bit quicker. Not sure how long it currently takes. I'm going to make it 10 frames to erode. And then cut it off. And this will also have its opacity keyframe, so we'll move that to 0. And let's quickly see where we are. We have a button press. I would like to be more consistent by having this button press every time. So I'll bring this over to the Google Drive logo, and that occurs at click 3. So we start this here and move it into position. Alright, that looks better. I have this Google Docs screenshot here, and let's bring this just below the auxiliary console. What we want to do is tint this and then invert it. And let's see how this is positioned when we go back to main comp. So it's a little large, and we also want it to be a bit further up here because this is the title bar. It needs to be at the top. So let's scale this down to maybe 80% and then try there. Okay, it needs to come up a bit further. And maybe across a bit. Okay, I think this is pretty good. So once we have the position all locked down, we can now set the anchor point to where the W is. So let's go to this button press and set our anchor point to the very middle of this W here. And I'm going to start this scale quite large. Let's start it. Well, let's go forward 20 frames, and it ends up at 80, but we want it to start at maybe 200. It just needs to be off screen, so let's try 350 and expo out. So let's go quarter res, check here. It needs to be a little bit bigger actually. Let's try 400. Let's go 450 for safety. And let's preview this. Alright, that's looking good. And let's pick this up in the next lesson where we'll add in the text.